More than 2 years into Russia's large-scale invasion of Ukraine, and European military spending is witnessing a return to levels not seen for a generation following the so-called peace dividend, won with the conclusion of the Cold War between Western powers and Soviet Russia. In February, NATO Secretary-General Jens Stoltenberg announced that since 2014 European NATO members, along with Canada, had added more than $600 billion in defense spending. In 2023 alone, NATO saw an 11% increase in defense spending in European NATO states and Canada, indicating a leveling out of burden sharing in the alliance. Secretary-General Stoltenberg revealed an expectation that 18 NATO members would meet the 2% defense spending benchmark in 2024, representing a purported six-fold increase since 2014, when just 3 NATO states met the target. In 2024, NATO allies in Europe will invest a combined total of $380 billion in defense. For the first time, this amounts to 2% of their combined GDP, said Stoltenberg in the 14th of February NATO release, adding, "We are making real progress. European allies are spending more." However, some still have a ways to go, because we agreed at the Vilnius summit that all allies should invest 2%, and that 2% is a minimum. The importance of European defense spending retains significant traction in the military heartbeat of NATO, Washington, D.C. The previous Republican administration inside the White House made no secret of its dissatisfaction with European inactivity in defense spending, and is a trend that remains current to the present day. U.S. Representative Mike Rogers, R.L., chairman of the House Armed Services Committee, delivering remarks on the 10th of April 2024, at a hearing on U.S. military posture and national security challenges in Europe, stated that North Korea Supreme Leader Kim Jong-un, China President Xi Jinping, and Iran's Ayatollah Khomeini are eagerly aiding and abetting Russian President Vladimir Putin's brutal invasion of Ukraine, and that a Russian victory would seriously undercut the credibility of U.S. deterrence. A Russian victory will embolden Kim, Xi, and the Ayatollah to confront South Korea, Taiwan, Israel, and ultimately, the United States, in new and fatal ways. And I fear Putin will use a victory in Ukraine as a springboard to invade Eastern Europe, Rogers said. To this end, Rogers, calling for Congress to pass the long-delayed $60 billion supplementary military budget intended to provide aid for Ukraine and Israel, also urged European members of NATO to spend more on defense. To this, the U.S. President Joe Biden needs to force our European allies to do more, while the UK, Poland, the Baltic states, and the Czech Republic are punching well above their weight. There are some European countries that can and must do more, said Rogers. Rogers, calling for Congress to pass the long-delayed $60 billion supplementary military budget intended to provide aid for Ukraine and Israel, also urged European members of NATO to spend more on defense. According to NATO figures, in 2014 European member states invested 1.47% of their collective GDP in defense, with that figure since rising over the following decade, reaching 2% in 2024. European NATO members have donated significant quantities of armored vehicles, support vehicles, artillery, and other platforms to Ukraine since Russia's February 2022 invasion, with the UK alone contributing Challenger to main battle tanks and Bulldog armored personnel carriers, along with dozens of other transport and logistics platforms, as well as long-range fires capability with the AES-90 155mm self-propelled howitzers. Germany too has been a key provider of equipment, along with France, with countries across NATO also committing in-service capabilities to Kyiv, such as Slovenia's provision of 28 of its M55S tanks. In the midst of this unprecedented commitment of military materiel to Ukraine, with its war against Russia primarily being fought in the land domain, European countries also looking to replace capability gaps created as a result, while also continue long-standing modernization efforts, initiated well before Moscow's naked ambition to reassert physical control over its near neighbors.